Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Mike Dutra, and this is our Blackstone Valley. I'm going to talk next with you about the peculiarities of the Confederate Yankees, a great write-up that one of my friends turned me on to that couples against something I've talked with you about before called fake patriotism. It's an idea that if you are someone who's very, not just President Trump, but someone who's fervently patriotic and hates illegals or Islam, but more importantly, you're really much more likely to just be a white man over the age of 40 who's struggling financially. These are the questions we got to start asking ourselves. If you're trying to use the American flag to attack refugees, which are women and children without a nation, I have a big problem with that. Moreover, if you try to couple your patriotism against anything other than service to our great nation, not only as a soldier or a sailor or a Marine or an airman or airwoman, you could be a teacher, a fireman, a paramedic. There's so many things we need in America. But if you work at Speedway and you have on a Make America Great Again hat, I have a problem with it. And here's why. Patriotism, the whole idea of nationalism, stems back to the citizen soldier. People that are fiercely patriotic about their country are people willing to fight and die for that country. And if I'm talking to you right now and you're a veteran, or you've ever served, or you tried to serve and you were turned away, or you're a teacher or a fireman or someone who serves society, a garbage man, I am not talking about you. If you are someone who lives off of society in any way, if you are a recipient of any type of social service, you need to stop using the flag to hurt other people. If you are someone who just has a regular job or, God forbid, owns your own business, you need to stop attacking people that just want to live here and trying to shame them and saying terrible things about them. The world is moving faster every day. We're seeing more and more stories like the lawyer that tried to call ICE on that lovely young woman, ultimately being shamed out of existence. We see a lieutenant for the fire department being shamed out of existence, the fire department out of New York. More and more stories like this where people are being forced to live with the awful things they've said, either in real life, on camera, or online. These are the things for you to think about. If you were more excited to see Donald Trump become president than you were Barack Obama, can you please ask yourself why? Barack Obama, to me, is the Jackie Robinson of American presidents. He will go down in history, perhaps not as the greatest baseball player ever or greatest president ever, perhaps someday in the future, not even the greatest African-American president. Oprah, if you're watching, please run. Please, Oprah, we all love you. Give us all cars and books. I'm kidding. Oprah, run. You can stand up to this guy. But getting back to the point of the Jackie Robinson of presidents, Barack Obama certainly faced death threats and racism, not only himself, but his wife and 2 little girls. You want to talk about real bravery? I say former President Barack Obama is one of the bravest people alive in America today. He took a great risk trying to make the world a better place, trying to bring people health care, which if you look at the way the world is right now, we've got even more serious problems than health care. The school shootings, what happened in Santa Fe, I'm not going to shame anybody. But if you have guns on your Facebook, if you're on Facebook doing crazy NRA stunts, taking pictures of yourself with tons of weapons, if you're a Trumper who uses Make America Great Again to try to Islamophobe or homophobe or attack other races, if you're a white nationalist, if you're any of these things, you need to leave America now. We don't want you here. We would much rather have people from the caravan who've come all the way up from El Salvador trying to make their families' lives better than have you. We don't need hatred in America. We need answers. Coming up, I'm going to actually be with my friend Giovanni Froshi, who's a candidate for governor in Rhode Island. Amazing self-made man. Someone you're going to want to hear his story. Beyond that, we're going to have other great guests on, like Sabrina from Our Northbridge, who's going to explain to you the groundbreaking work she's doing trying to help women who are victims of domestic violence here in the Blackstone Valley, particularly in our great town of Northbridge. Beyond that, something I want to talk with you about personally is my own story having the opportunity to explain to you who I am and what I do is something I covered briefly before, but I'd like to cover it all once now if I can. After I graduated high school, I went to college at the University of Albany, dropped out of college, moved back home, went in the Marines. My enlistment date was October 12th, 2000. I went in the United States Marine Corps Reserves as a 5711, which is a nuclear biological chemical defense specialist. After going to my initial active duty training, I came home, did my 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, until Iraq. I was activated for the Iraq War. When I came home, went back in the reserves, had an opportunity to become a Marine officer, turned that down because I wanted to marry this beautiful young woman who had this little boy that I loved like my own. We got married. I ended up going into the Army National Guard because they offered me a commission as well, and then I didn't have to leave. I could stay here locally in the Rhode Island Army National Guard. Got my commission, graduated honor grad, got to speak at the State House. Ron Tamro and Captain Dean, if you're out there, please just let me say thank you. Captain Maldonado, anybody I'm forgetting, you men are the standard. Thank you for setting the standard. After getting my commission, right after I got my commission, my mother was terminally diagnosed with cancer. My focus completely shifted to her and her 3 children that were still in school. My brother Stephen, who's a captain in the United States Army now. Steve, how's it going, buddy? He was at PC as a freshman at the time. We were completely focused on the family. I had to put my own career as an officer on hold. Shortly after my mother passed, I resigned my commission, among other things. But not too much later, I ended up living in $1 million house on the beach, 3-side ocean views, beautiful baby boy. Life was good. From there, I ended up getting divorced. Got a little condo at a place called Kirkbrae Country Club for a while. From there, bought a house in our beautiful town of Northbridge. I live in the 01588 up in the hills. Absolutely love it there. Anybody who lives in my neighborhood knows I have lots of kids. I don't keep the cleanest yard. I don't cut my grass as much as I should. But I try really hard to be neighborly and do important stuff, like keep especially the front yard really nice. Stuff we really want to be more focused on as a town. We need to start having these open conversations of, well, what's the most important thing in town? If you think how long you lived here is more important than how you behave, I feel like we need to talk more, a lot more. It doesn't matter if your great-great-grandfather landed on Northbridge Rock or landed on Rockdale. You have no more rights than a person who just moved here that just took up residency. We are exactly the same people. We live in a little town in Massachusetts outside of Boston. A lot of people are moving here commuting to Boston, and this weird backwoods Confederate Yankee stuff ended the day I came forward and outed school committee chairman like Mike LeBrasser. We all know that. The town's going in a new direction. It's time for change. Something we're all going to have to look into is I was written in for 2 positions in elected office in town. We're going to be talking about that probably in the coming weeks. I'm going to a selectmen's meeting to find out exactly how that works. Something else you'll want to know is the not-for-profit I'm still involved with is very interested in pulling papers on every vacant position in town during the next election. Congratulations on the 2 votes. Voting no on 1. I want to send a special thank you to everyone who showed up and voted, people that I went and knocked on their doors and said, please go vote, and you did. Thank you so much. Getting the Community Preservation Act passed was a landmark win for common sense town management. We need to keep Northbridge green. I didn't move here to move to Shrewsbury. I moved here because this is the heart of the Blackstone Valley. This is the most beautiful place I've ever lived, and I've lived a few places. West End Creamery is my favorite place to take the kids. Fopama Farm is probably one of the most amazing things I've ever seen that I get to live close to. Why don't we talk about that stuff more? Why don't we talk about the corruption we face in town on one side, but more importantly, how we have this amazing, amazing town full of all these people that really love it here. And if we can focus on cleaning up D Street and I guess Main Street in Rockdale, or just really like, Rockdale proper and the Commons, this is going to be one of the most desirable places to live, I'll say, in America. Why can't we have solutions-based conversations? Why does it always have to be a conflict where people like me come forward and are identified as high-profile residents simply because I know how to carry on a conversation with somebody and say, well, I love you, but I respectfully disagree. A lot of other people in town have taken a very different position where I don't love you, I hate you, and if you disagree with me, I'm going to send internet trolls after you or stuff like that. And I just don't agree with that. Let me tell you why. If you're so sure in your position, argue your position. Some of the greatest debates in American history have happened with two people who fervently felt they were right. The Supreme Court talks about this all the time. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is probably one of the smartest women walking the earth today. She debates people all the time, trying to understand her decisions before she votes, before she decides as a Supreme Court justice. Justice Scalia, God rest his soul, but before he went, made brilliant orations and arguments on either side of either argument, simply trying to help people understand where we were as a country. One of the things I want to touch on as well is healthcare. I think the fact that we live in a country that is like Papua New Guinea when it comes to how we treat women when they're pregnant and when they're trying to be at home with their baby is abhorrent. I think not only do we need to get back to Obamacare, we need to move to a single payer system. Other things you may want to know about me, I am a progressive liberal, but I have many progressive conservative friends. I do look at a lot of stuff like money management as equally important to social responsibilities, because if you don't have the money to fix stuff, you can't do anything. Expanding upon that, I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin. If you read about modern money mechanics, which is something that's been written by the Federal Reserve, it talks about velocity. Velocity has to do with inflation. It means the more money that gets into circulation, the faster money moves, the less it becomes worth. So what I'm proposing to you is every time some young man or woman that's flat out brilliant invents the next Bitcoin, every dollar we have becomes worth less than it was before. We'll be right back.